Government says it has paid about 70 million rand to 35 families who lost loved ones during the Marikana Massacre in 2012. The state has rejected claims that it is dragging its feet in settling the reparations. And joining me now is attorney for injured and arrested mine workers Andries, Nkome, and Marikana survivor Mziwoxolo Magidiwana. Thank you so much to you both for your time. I'll begin with you, Andries. What is your reaction to the government's briefing yesterday?
Good morning to you and good morning to the viewers at home. Look, the briefing that was held yesterday, more than anything, it was a government that was saying to us that it is caring about what transpired in Marikana. I think this was made having forgotten the fact that the very same amounts that government claims to have paid were the same amounts that were claimed by the Minister of Police about a year ago, where he had said that about 170 million had been paid, and this year they come through to say an amount less than that has been paid. So I echo the fact that it's in the hands of a government that essentially does not care about what really transpired in Marikana, because our claims are not only monetary. We've got a claim for that the government must just go to Marikana and apologize. Between 2012 up until today, that has not happened. And I think I also need to expatiate and make sure that everybody understands the kinds of claims that we have in front of government, against loanmen, and against President Cyril Ramaphosa in his personal capacity. The initial claims were for the families of the deceased miners. Only a portion of those claims have been paid. The second claim is for the unlawful arrest of the 279 people that were unlawfully arrested after the massacre in 2012. Only a portion of those people have been paid. Now, the last claim, which is very, very important, is a claim of the people who were injured and survived the Marikana Massacre. None of those people that have been injured, who still have got bullets in their bodies, have been paid a cent to this day. And that is the part where we say government is dragging its feet. I should tell you now that in June this year, government wrote to say before the end of that month, June, they will have made offers for the claims of the injured, and we'll be looking at making sure that we finalize those claims. But between then and now, there hasn't been anything.
And for you, Mziwoxolo, ndizawuthetha nawe ngesiXhosa, andazi noma ububukele i-briefing yaphezolo urhulumente xa ethetha ekhuluma ngemali esazikhuphileyo. Ndiyabona uba wena ndithi uqhamuka kwaMaluleke Msimanga ngaba abantu abakurepresentayo abo, and ndiyabona uba ezenu ii-claims zisaqhubekeka iingxoxo akakafinalizwa nto phayana. Uziva njani ngaloo nto?
Ukundikhathaza kakhulu ukuthi u-government iba ngathi ufuna sijongane namagqwetha wethu ukuthi ngathi amagqwetha methu ayidlile imali. Into yokuqala leyo sibe sisazi ukuthi ingxaki ilele kurhulumente. Mna amagqwetha wam ayenza onke amalungiselelo kusukela kwami ukuphuma kwami esibhedlele ngo-2013 ndiphuma esibhedlele ndabheka ecourt. Ahamba ndithatha amagqwetha andisa kogqirha ukuthi ndilungiselelwe. Ekugqibeleni ugqibele urhulumente esithi akonelisekanga ufuna ukundisa ngokwakhe kwisibhedlele sakhe kogqirha bakhe. Ndathi okay, ku-right, if bafuna ukwenza loo nto bafuna ukuyenza akuzutshintsha ngxaki yokulimala kwami, bangandisa noba komphi ugqirha noba uphesheya uba ngaba bacinga uba yena lo uzofika atshintshe ukulimala kwami. Ndahamba ugqirha bakhe ndabagqiba ndilindile, since ndilindile. And into endikhathazayo, into ebuhlungu ukuba sisengxakini eziyi-3 endingazibala kwingxaki esikuzo. Andizuthethela mna ngoba mna ndingumuntu oye athethe ndedwa, ndithethela zonke ii-victims. Kunaba abamkayo bahamba apha abangasebenziyo, abangazaziyo ukuthi bafuneka balale betye ntoni, and abangarholi nemali yepeyi emakhaya. Abathi baze batye, funeka unkosikazi babo bahambe bohlakulela eminye imizi okanye bokhezela abanye abantu ukuze balale betyile, ngoba noba bangakwazi bangazama ukuyokusebenza abanokwazi ukusebenza phantsi kwesehlo abavelelwa siso. Okokugqibela, thina abantu basephantsi kwenkampani imali esiyiholayo ayisonelisi. Sinengxaki esijongene nazo emakhaya, akusena bonus, akusena overtime. Siyazigulela, funeka sithenge ipilisi ngayo le mali. I-medical yethu esingakwaziyo afforda ezo pilisi fanele kanti siyazithenga. So simbona uhulumende njengomuntu ongathi akasikhathalelanga futhi ongenamsebenzi nento esiyithetha ukuba siyahlupheka. And uyasixelele ngecorona ukuthi nasibuza amagqwetha ukuba kwenzekani. Bathi hayi kusebhizi and into evalile icorona. Corona leyo eaffecta thina ngaphezulu kwale ngxaki sikuyo. Uyokhumbula uba sithetha ngabantu abanengxaki yokulimala. Sinengxaki yengxaki zethu, sinengxaki yokuba soyika nale corona ngoku izophinda ithathe imiphefumulo yethu ekubeni singekho right. Singathenga naloo mali ekubeni siphalalele igazi ngelihlobo.
And ngaqhubekeka.
Eyokugqibela into endikhathaza kakhulu endiqonda uba iyandikhathaza ngamatyala angapheliyo. Ekubeni engapheli la matyala futhi akukho noyi-one umuntu oyowatshutshiswa kwaba bantu bonke babesenza le nto, including utata uRamaphosa uyoma kolantuka kotata nathi mthetho. So utata uBhekicele naye ethetha ibe ngathi sonke sabhatalwa nxa ebala ekhawunta yonke la mali. Even nalowo bethetha izolo andazi noba bathi ngilibele nje igama lakhe, uthi naye ethetha engathi ikhona into asele iyenziwe kwi-victims ngokumuntu wonke. Asinayo nesente sayifumana. And umbuzo wethu kungani na kube nzima ke if basenza loo nto bayenzayo babe besinikeza loo mali bayiqondayo ukuba ingabe isiphilisa ngoba kukho abantu abahleli engxakini. Sizifaka ngosifaka ematyaleni ngenxa yokuba sibethwa sisini.
What Mziwoxolo is saying there in brief is that it appears as if government is trying to make them think that their lawyers may have misappropriated the money and thus not giving it to them as the claimants. And he says that this is simply not true. And he is also talking about, the difficulties that he's had in his own process post his hospitalization. He says just after the massacre, he says that, the state wanted to take him to its own doctors for medical examinations, because that is, of course, the procedure that the state has to put in place as well. And he says this was done. And he is still, in fact, waiting. And he also says that there are three difficulties that they are faced with, and that is some of them left without jobs and are still not being paid, and they now are relying on their wives who have to do some odd jobs, in the fields in order for them to be able to put food on the table, and others who are still working for then Lonmin Mine, now Sibanye Stillwater, are complaining that their salaries are not enough. They have got no bonuses and there's no overtime pay that they can be able to then rely on. And he also says that in terms of their medical bills, it's also difficult because the medical aid is also not able to cover everything. And then you find yourself in a position where you have to take money out of your pocket in order to be able to pay for your medical expenses. And he says government doesn't care about us. We're being told about COVID-19, but he says that we, as the claimants, are at risk. If you look at someone like him who was shot multiple times, and we'll speak to him in just a moment about that, and he says that they're just worried, and he's worried about not contracting COVID-19, so government cannot continue then to be telling them about COVID-19, and he says that they're now finding themselves in debt, and it's unending, and also the other cases that are also unfolding in the public domain, and you're seeing no one who is accountable for what happened on the 16th of August. He goes on to say that the president is still not accounting, the former police minister Nathi Mthethwa is still not accounting, so he feels that they're being failed by the government here. We'll continue this conversation in just a moment with Mziwoxolo Magidiwana, as well as Andries Nkome, who's the attorney for the injured and arrested miners. Let's continue our conversation with attorney for injured and arrested mine workers Andries Nkome and Marikana Massacre survivor Mziwoxolo Magidiwana. Andries, when you listen to what Mziwoxolo has to say, he starts off with, the fact that lawyers are now being put in a difficult position. And this, I also, put on the fact that even yesterday when we were listening to the briefing by the Solicitor General, we were listening to statements that were calling on the victims to come and have a look at the public documents if they want to see where things stand. Others were suggesting that this might then mean that the lawyers may not necessarily have been honest here. And Mziwoxolo is then saying that it does appear that government may try to be pitting the lawyers against the clients. But government says that this is simply for transparency purposes.
Look, I think it is mischievous for a press briefing to be held that calls for clients of ours to be called and to come to the offices of the state attorney to have a viewing of public records. When we can make public our interactions with the state attorney, when we can give to the media and any other person that has been involved out of this records to say, here is what transpired. So I do not see the reason why government would want this other than just for mischievous purposes. But I'm saying government has not, in its very long statement that they drafted, where they spoke at length about the provisions of the Constitution, they have not said that they paid any one of the injured people 1 cent, and that is the point at which we stand. Government has not even said in that statement that they have sent out anyone on any particular day. Go to Marikana and apologize for what transpired in 2012. Again, we have been stating vehemently that we've got lawsuits against President Ramaphosa in his personal capacity and against Lonmin. None of those two parties, Lonmin and President Ramaphosa, are coming out to seek a solution in respect of what transpired in Marikana. None of them is saying, let's sit down and settle this case. And both of them are digging their heels in, denying that they were part of what transpired and they formed the crux of the massacre that took place in Marikana. So we have many messages that are floating out, and I don't think that it is out of a good heart that government goes out and says, come through to our offices and observe our records.
So Andries, clarify this for me. Pardon me. We don't have a lot of time, but please clarify this for us then, because when I go back to the statement that was made by government yesterday, and I was listening to that briefing, they say that to Nkome attorneys who represents 275 unlawful arrest and detention, from this number, 17 also claimed under the heads of damages of assaults, injuries from gun wounds and malicious prosecution claimants. The state has finalized 253 unlawful arrest and detention claims. This is amounting to around 97 million. Do you confirm this, that this indeed is what the state has done? And they say that there's offers of settlements that have been made to 11, and a total 11 matters remain outstanding.
We represent the arrested, 279 of the arrested. There has been some settlement which was made towards those, the arrested. But we have not received even a single offer for the claims that we have against government for the injured people of Marikana. And those are between 3 law firms. None of those firms have received a single offer for settlement. So none of the injured people that suffered injuries out of the massacre in Marikana have been paid 9 years on. That is what we are saying.
Mziwoxolo, xa ujonga wena i-process yakhona ngendlela ehamba ngayo, amagqwetha akho athi yintoni? Ngoba urhulumente uthi kusaxoxa ngendaba yokuthi nizawubhatalwa nini. Xa uva wena kumagqwetha akho athi urhulumente uthi sithini isizathu soba nangoku uzungayifumani imali yakho?
Senizi amagqwetha ukujwayele ukuthi ngelinye ilanga ndibe kwi-office kaTata Msimanga efonela igqwetha lombuso ukuthi ithini into yabo bantu, why ningade nibabhatale? Kubonakala ukuthi bakhala nge-COVID, uba kunomuntu kwi-office yabo obanjwe yi-COVID, so abakhona ukuthi baye ofisini balungise, basaphumile bathi ningahlangani. So banendlela yokuphepha abangafuna, abayinandaba nento yethu, futhi bengenandaba nje nento yethu, abasibona ukuthi siphansi kwengcindezi engakanani. I-pressure esikuyo senigcine sendedendane naphathwa nazi-high blood ngendima yokuthi anisakhona ukuphumla ngihlala nje ngalo lonke ixesha ndine-stress sendaba yasemarikana and uba bendingaba mhlawumbi bendingumuntu okuthiwa uweak kakhulu mhlawumbi ngesekudala nditshonile kangangendlela abanditreata ngayo.
And xa ujonga ngoba ungumntu owayedubulekile at least 9 times ngelo xesha xa ucinga, I mean it's just a few days besihleli phana sikhumbula imini yasemarikana, xa kusenzeka njena uziva njani?
Kubuhlungu kakhulu ngoba lento ibonisa nje ukuthi nyaniso impilo yomuntu omnyama i-chief ngeyona ndlela emangalisayo, because andithi imali izobuyisa umphefumulo wami okanye izobuyisa indlela bendikade ndiyo, kodwa izokwenza ndikwazi kube lula ukupesha apho mna ndingakhona ukufikelela khona. Okwesibini futhi ndingathi ndithengisa ngegazi lam elichithekileyo ukuze kungabanjwa abantu. So iyandikhathaza into yokuba bangabi ngathi ayingabo abantu abamnyama nabo abantu abasebenzela urhulumente bangayikhathaleli into eyenzeka kuthi, bangabi namsebenzi nokuthi thina siziva njani. Sesizizinto zokuhlekisa nasebantwini abaninzi noba siyahamba endaweni ukuthi hayi ngulowa wayelimele emarikana sicela kunzima kakhulu, ibuhlungu kakhulu into ebasenza yona, ibuhlungu kakhulu, and asiyazi uba singayithini, asazi uba singayiqala ngathi ngoba siyabona ukuthi sebedelela kwanala magqwetha la simele bayawadelela wona kuqala, sizothini ke ngoku?
Just before I give you a parting shot very briefly, Andries, what Mziwoxolo is saying there, he's talking about COVID-19 as being one of the issues cited with the issues because he's still waiting. He's part of the group that's waiting for negotiations to wrap up. He says that the State Attorney's Office is talking about the difficulties around COVID-19 and some of them contracting it when they call just to see when they can get an update. And he says that they don't care about them, and he's finding himself under immense pressure, and he says he now is struggling with high blood pressure. He's under a lot of stress, and he says he would have died, in fact, if he wasn't this strong. And he says while money is not going to replace the injuries that he has suffered, it would in fact change things for him. It also shouldn't be replacing accountability. He says it's painful that they've now turned to jokes. Andries, you're listening to this in 20 seconds. Where to from here in order to try and find each other with government? Because what government is also saying is that they're trying to do everything with utmost humility in order to wrap up this process.
Look, I think the courts will be the only forums out of which the media briefings will be dispelled. I think it will be out of there that we are able to obtain a court order that says, let government compensate these people. Let government be compelled to go to Marikana and offer an unconditional apology for what transpired in Marikana. So we have taken instructions to the effect that we must go to court and make sure that we then come up with a court order that will be able to show the public that we've been able to go to court. Here's an outcome. The government had not paid as they had said they have, and now our people are going to be paid.
All right. Thank you to you for your time this morning, and we wait then to see when those court papers will be filed. Mziwoxolo, enkosi kakhulu tata ngexesha lakho. Siyabulela kakhulu. Enkosi. And that's Mziwoxolo Magidiwana there, who's one of the survivors of the Marikana Massacre.